River Junction at the Junction Fiber Mill. Happy New Year, everyone! I'm in yarn heaven here. And behind me is a Lindal sweater, which was designed by Ona Wöldten. And maybe you saw it at last year's Vermont and New York Sheep and Wool Festivals.
We've seen this sweater everywhere and we've been wondering what it is.
It's being promoted by the Junction Fiber Mill, where they make all this beautiful yarn.
People are excited about us bringing yarn manufacturing to White River Junction.
Some of the first yarn I bought here was from Peggy's sheep, spun here on their machines right in White River Junction. And I love that.
She came back with like beautiful knit goods, knit with our yarn, and we were just stunned.
I happen to like to wear cardigans, and so there are more cardigans than there are pullovers. I think if you're gonna spend 40 hours plus knitting something, you kind of want to be able to wear it too.
Basically, it was a match made in heaven. We were like, great, we have a local designer who likes us and likes our yarn, and we need some patterns made with our yarn because we're a new yarn company.
The New York Sheep and Wool Festival. So it's held every year in Rhinebeck, New York.
The Rhinebeck experience, the place to go to see and be seen with your knitting peeps, your fiber nerds.
So when Amanda and Peggy first approached me, they were curious if I would design a sweater for them to use as their Rhinebeck sweater. People do their own version of their Rhinebeck sweater. Hundreds, if not thousands of people will knit that sweater. The year before we did the Torkel design, and everybody met up on the hill at Rhinebeck and everybody wore their piece that they made. I'll design a yoke style sweater, but I'm gonna do it sideways because that's the way that these shapes kind of work for knitting. And then I photocopied this. So this is my mock-up of a sweater. In order to sort of see visually what was going on, I mapped out every single stitch. This was the first sweater I knit. I can't even tell you, countless hours. It took a year basically to design. Now the pattern's a 32-page long pattern. So there's 11 sizes, 3 different lengths, a pullover and a cardigan. So 66 possible combinations of a sweater that you could knit. Vermont Sheep and Wool came, a couple weeks before the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. So many of my test knitters were there and walking around wearing their sweaters.
And by the time we got to Rhinebeck, no two sweaters were alike. All different sizes, all different colors. And to get the yarn maker, the pattern designer, and then all these talented knitters together all in one place.
As a designer, it's great because then you could see all the different combinations of colors people put together, things that you might not have thought of. So I brought a few of my pieces. This is my Lindal turritella design. It's basically a scarf that was inspired by seashells. So this is the Lindal shawl. You could wrap that a couple times around your neck and throw it over your shoulder, and it's really beautiful on. This is another one of the turritellas. And all of this is done with this Junction Fiber Mill yarn. This one has a lot of their natural colors in it.
We open up the space about once a month and do an open house where people can learn how yarn is made from sheep to skein, basically. And then we started our Millcast, which is our YouTube channel that we do every week where we talk about what we're up to in the mill, what we're making, our knit-alongs like the ones we did with Ona's patterns. And that's really broadened our community. They're into knowing where their yarn came from. And I can say, if you're buying yarn from us, you can kind of see the whole process out there. And
these are all just a little bit different. And whether you want something that's a little bit lighter toned or something with some dark streaks to it.
In this journey of taking this raw material of the fleece, we wash it, pick it, card it, pin draft it, spin it, rinse it, hank it, and then it goes on our shelves to be sold, and then people pick it up and they continue the journey and make something with it, ideally. Your fiber shed is basically your local fiber source. So we kind of think like New England fits that bill, the Northeast United States. It's where your fiber's actually being raised. So we're talking pretty much wool in our case, alpaca, mohair, other fiber animals. So the fiber shed encourages all of those sorts of fibers, sort of as a response to the environmental degradation and harms of the global fast fashion industry. Polyester is the big one. It's well over half of the fiber consumed on the planet and produced on the planet is polyester. It's plastic. It's never gonna go away. It's polluting everything. Wool, on the other hand, cotton, other natural fibers, you can just simply compost them when you're done. When we became friends, Peggy sort of got me into sheep, and I ended up getting a couple sheep from her and her husband, so my flock is sort of a little satellite flock to theirs. At the mill, we work with wool from farmers near and a little bit farther away. So we don't put farm names generally, but we do like to say where it comes from. This is a blue-faced Leicester blend. It comes from New York. Romney comes from Vermont, so that's actually a very, very close one. This one we named Pink Pony Club, actually, after the Chapel Roan song. You know, we had our Vermont Vice. This has some, you know, hot pink, but also turquoise. It's the whole brat summer thing happened to make a lime green, and then that just sort of ballooned into, well, what if we did the whole rainbow? And with the Wicked yarns, which I think pretty much almost all sold out, we have a little bit of the Defying Gravity here. We're able to sort of crank out these like small batches of yarn, and so why not? Knitting is such a good source of connection. There is something about it that's just like tactile and nice, feeling this real wool fiber in your hands as you're working with the yarn.
So this is a new design of mine. It's called the Tintype series. This is a very long, showy scarf, similar to the shawl. This should be coming out next week. This is a cowl. So this will just kind of go up and around your neck.
We're all feeling like authenticity is being lost. We're all a little more detached. COVID really hurt a lot of us. And knitting is a really, and crochet and all these sorts of fiber crafts are really a good way to sort of establish a connection with the objects in your life again.
Junction Fiber Mill has monthly tours, and you can find Ona's designs on Ravelry, and we will get stuck in Vermont with you again real soon. Happy New Year, everybody. It's a fresh new year, and there's beautiful yarn, much of it made in Vermont by wonderful sheep. Thank you, sheep. I did a video on sheep shearing. It's one of my most popular videos ever, actually.
Well, and I saw you interviewed Hannah too, and Hannah
Oh, yeah.
was one of my test knitters.
Oh, I love Hannah. She's great.